Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. Sorry, we were just being stupid right before we started this. Today is August 28th, 2023, and this is episode 71. We have broken the 70 milestone that we were shooting for.
We did it. We're here.
We're here. Anyway, I'm Steven, your host and game designer at Waffle Games, and with me today is not Ralph.
Want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm so used to you doing, because with all three of us,
It's just
you're
easier that way. Yeah.
It's just easier to just have you do it. But Trevor, I'm back, and I help with operations and also with the game design. So
Ralph's not here today because he's installing flooring at his house. Which last time the time before, we had talked about how he had decided on the flooring for his house. So now he's installing it over the next couple of days. So couldn't find.
I'm not entirely convinced that it's not like that he got stung by a third bee and he's swollen up like a balloon right now.
That's true. Maybe he found another hive and attacked it and it didn't go well. That's what I'm assuming. So
he's the bee assassin.
The bee assassin.
The bee assassin.
Anyway.
Dude, we got to come up with better material. Look at that shirt.
Guys, if you're on video, if you're not on video, go look at the video. I got some Waffle Games shirts.
Whoa. So look at those biceps, but also look at that shirt.
Yeah, the shirt is awesome. So I have a friend who connected me with a local printer here in Colorado Springs and sent him some designs. So because I talked about this last time, that I was going to a board game convention, and this past weekend I went to a board game convention and called TactiCon. There's my pass. Bam.
TactiCon.
And I had some shirts made up before we went, and the guy at the designer there and who did the printing and everything was awesome. Shirts turned out great.
Yeah,
they feel
so good.
Feel great, super comfy too. And yeah, so got some shirts for that. And I made up some business cards, dude. Like, I don't have them with me. It just has our logo on one side. It's a square with rounded corners. Has our logo on one side, and then it just has a QR code on the other to our website. Because
that's excellent.
The night before I went to the convention, my wife Livy was like, do you have anything to hand out to people or business cards? I'm like, oh, that's probably a good idea, so that people can find us after. And so
we'll hire her as our marketer now.
Seriously, yeah. It's 9:00 the night before. I was just like, okay, I'll make something real quick.
Throw it together.
It's pretty easy. I just printed them at home, so just on cardstock. But they're pretty cool.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it was that whole night. I was just prepping everything because I had printed the cards. Which if you look on our Instagram, I posted photos of the play test.
Yeah.
And damn,
look at that. Sexy, and I know it.
Basic, advanced, mastercraft.
Wow.
So I printed those out. Got those Friday morning.
So fresh.
Yeah, they're sweet.
Dude, you're like a little kid prepping for his first day of school. I can imagine it's for you. It's probably same levels of excitement, and you're like, I get my notebooks and my number 2 pencils all put together, make sure I have it all.
It felt like that on Friday because Libby was like, are you gonna pack a lunch? I made a PB&J that morning before I left because the food there was just pretty expensive. She's like, what are you gonna do for lunch? I packed you a snack. Here's some trail mix in a bag.
Here's your chewy granola bar.
Do you have all their stuff? I have my backpack with the game. Don't forget the game. Got some business cards, and then she helped me do some final cutting out on some of the cards at the end too. But yeah, it was great. So anyway, went to the convention. What were we talking about before that? We mentioned the shirts, but that was probably all it was.
We were talking about Ralph got flooring. Then you're talking about shirts, and you're talking about business cards.
Yeah, we're done. We're done talking about Ralph. He's not
Okay,
here.
yeah.
We'll talk about him next week.
Woo!
Yeah. Who? Talk about who?
I don't know.
Anyway, so TactiCon is technically like a 4-day event, like 3.5-day event, whatever. But I just went up for a single day on Saturday because it's in Denver. It took like an hour, 20 minutes for me to get there. And I had connected with a couple designers from a Colorado game designers group on Facebook, and saw that they were going to test their games. And so there was one guy who I talked back and forth with a little bit on Facebook, and so I was like, hey, like, let me know when you're there, and I signed up to test his game too. So show up, sign in, wander around. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's happening. And yeah, saw some random things. Like other people were showing some games. There's like a big game library. People were just like checking out games and just like playing them with groups. So that was really cool. So there's just like a ton of board games you could just go and play. Um, or people would like walk around with a sign that says like need players and like holding up the box. And so then they'd get people and like all play. Or if you have your own
Cool.
prototype, you just set it up on a table and you can put a sign up that says like need players. People will like just walk by and be like, hey, like what is this? Uh, and you just set up a game. If you didn't have like scheduled events, or even if you had scheduled events, like me, and no one signed up for them, you just hope some people will play your game.
Right.
So maybe it was a turnoff that it showed 6 players on there. Maybe I had it. I put the events too late. I don't know. Either way, no one signed up. But I got there and I saw someone had like a banner for their game, and I'd seen a post on the Facebook group about that game. It's called Human Flavor. So you're kind of like different monster type creatures. They were like undead, ferals, other stuff anyway, where you're essentially like trying to eat the humans in the city and do these different things. So it was pretty fun. But I saw that and I was like, I introduced myself and we chatted for a while, and then just kind of like hung out with him. His name was Jim. I can't remember the name of his company. Maybe it was like a Layman Kingsford. He also is like an author or something.
You told him about our podcast, right? Is he gonna? I just want to. Hi, Jim, if you're listening.
Yeah, I told him about the podcast. I don't know if I told him. I told the other guys because I went to dinner with them after. But anyway, met another guy, Kyle from Imposter Games, and he had his game Primordial Creatures of Pandemonium, and so he had some sessions set up. So he was the one I signed up for. I got 11. So
Gotcha. Is that the one you were texting me about? Was that
yeah,
game?
yeah. I sent pictures. I sent pictures of both games. I
Okay.
think I sent them both over. But anyway, tested Kyle's game, which was really cool. It's like you play as a mage, and there's like hex tiles of different like environmental areas. So there's like the green is like kind of foresty. There's like red, which is like desert and volcano-y type things. He had like specific names on what these stood for. But there was essentially green, blue, red, and purple were the different like environments you could go into. And when you went to those, you'd collect these random energy cubes that were in place. And then you'd use those cubes to tame creatures. Like so if you were in a red space, there'd be like a pool of creatures at the top you could kind of tame. It's kind of like
One.
yeah, that one. Yeah. So you'd hop around those hexes and collect the energy, and then you'd use that energy to like power up some stuff on your board. So you'd like get other bonuses, and then you use it to tame creatures. And so all these things you do give you victory points for that. And then there's like all the creatures have different abilities and things. So I actually ended up winning, which is awesome. But we'd tame a creature.
Your first time, Steven. How'd it feel?
I know, so good. Dude, I won the playtest on Tabletop Simulator of our game the other
No
day
way!
with Jesse. Yeah, dude. I know. It's amazing. I said that in the podcast last week if you listened to it, Trevor. So
I didn't.
wow. Anyway, so we played Kyle's game, Primordial, and that was really cool. And so he's gonna take it to another convention soon, do some more testing and everything. But if you look up his on Facebook, Imposter Games, you can see stuff on his game.
Cool.
But yeah, so he was great. And so I ended up kind of just hanging out with Jim and Kyle like the rest of the day. So I'm like, well, I don't know anyone. And then I was able to test Jim's game because his slots for his test weren't full. And they were like, hey, like we'll be free later, like for your second session for Foundry. Mm-hmm. And so then they both tested it. And third guy, So yeah, a third guy, fourth including me, came and tested the game too, and he's actually a sales rep for What's Games, WHATZ Games, which is like one of the top three game manufacturers that I was looking at using. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, we got a good playtest in. It took like maybe like an hour 45 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what you said.
yeah, and it was like it went overall really well. One of the like he said at the end, he's like, dang, like that didn't feel like 2 hours. And I was like, that's great. That means we were having fun. So like the pacing overall went really well. Um, there was a there's a weird time in the beginning of the game where it felt like we were all getting a ton of XP, but like everyone had significantly over half health. We all had like three-quarters of our health still, or like almost to half. So I'm like, why are we at Mastercraft and no one's like even close to being dead? So I was a bit concerned for a bit, but it does ramp pretty quickly.
Pretty fast.
And like I think the one issue with the current version, well, I'll get to that. Okay, so overall, yeah, really good, positive feedback. They really liked the action buckets that we created, like those, like
Okay, good.
the whatever.
Replenish, gather,
Yeah,
whatever.
so
Yeah.
like craft, you can craft three
Yeah.
blueprints and you can craft empty cores, and then gather, you draw two blueprints, draw or gain more scrap, and then refresh as you roll for the siphon. You can repair corruption, and then we also added you can for this test I added that you can discard cards for one scrap, because with this new system you do the gather action pretty often to get more scrap, but when you do that you always draw two cards as well, and so we just had like tons of cards, and
Tons of
so
cards. Got it.
it was a different feel because we just had so many cards, which part of that was good because you have a lot of choices, but at the same time then you just have like this huge hand of cards, and a lot of them you're like, well, I know I'm not going to craft these this game. um
Do we need to have a max hand size?
so that was an idea. So a couple ideas on that. So they said like the gather action, one of the suggestions at the end was you could have people, since you're doing it more frequently, you can have people draw two and then just keep one of them. So you can still draw two for the action, then you only
Right.
keep one in your hand. So that way
Right.
you don't have nearly as many cards in your hand, but you also get some choice and more options each time you do draw.
Okay.
So that's one thing we can look at.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that.
and then with the refresh action, corruption just kind of feels pointless right now. So couple suggestions that they had that we were kind
Yeah.
of talking through at
So
the
we
end.
swung the opposite direction. We went from corruption being crazy powerful to
Yeah.
now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we'd get corrupted and say like I had two corruption. So I did have two corruption one time, and I forgot to cure it because I did the gather and the collect action. So I'm like, ah, crap, I can't cure this now. And so I took 2 damage. It increased, and the next time I took the action to repair it and paid 3 scrap to cure it, and it was fine. So it kind of just felt like it's not a huge. I don't know. It was okay. It's not like a huge cost to get rid of it, but it still sets you back from crafting other things, and it
Right.
makes you use that action to do it. A
Yeah.
couple ideas that they had, or that we had overall. So one of my ideas was if we went back to like, no, that's a dumb idea. Never mind. I was gonna say put it back at the top of your action, where like you start your turn. If you're corrupted, you take damage, but
Right.
then it's still just like it's that automatic damage that we talked about before. Where it's like
Right.
I'm corrupted,
Might as well
so
just
you
take
might
the
as well just
damage.
take the damage. So one suggestion was, what if corrupted was just like a status effect? So you're corrupt, like, hey, you take corruption damage, you're corrupted, or you're not corrupted. And so like while corrupted, maybe you have some kind of um like debuff, some kind of like thing where it's like, hey, you draw one less scrap while you're corrupted, or like something have
Plus 1 damage every time you get attacked.
yeah, something like that. So like while corrupted, yeah, maybe you're weaker. That's a good idea. So that's one idea, is just like, you know how you have the cloaking, you can like have this little token.
Right.
It's like I'm cloaked or I'm not.
You just have something that shows if you're corrupted or not.
Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. Um, and then we could still have that action to like cure corruption and just make it cost like 3 scrap to cure it, or something. We set like a static cost to it because it's just like it's a status then.
Right.
Another idea, which is actually pretty interesting. It doesn't. it doesn't change. Okay, so the idea is not like changing how corruption works, but it's more of just turning the all of the corruption items into an expansion. And because they were like, hey, like as we played this game, if we didn't have corruption in this game, I don't feel like we'd be missing anything. So thinking like games like Carcassonne, I don't know if you ever played that one, where you
Yeah,
like
I
build
have.
out the roads and stuff in cities. There's like an expansion that adds like rivers and farms and all these other like add-ons or like things you can do
Right.
to
You're not
add.
missing the core of the game at all.
Right. So
Right.
they were like, hey, if you just took out corruption and created it as like an expansion set
Organic.
of like, which is a great idea because we just have the core game, like the main combat. We still have like explosive type things, pulse items, all that in the
Right.
game. Like it still feels good. There's a lot of variety still. And
Yeah.
then we could have an expansion of corruption items that now adds a new layer of mechanics to the game along
Right.
with interesting new weapons. And
Yeah,
then
that's interesting.
yeah, and then it opens doors for like other themed sets and stuff too that we could like here's a set that does blah 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 and like add some other mechanic to the game. So um
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we'd
I'm
still
not
have,
against that. I want to think. I want to think about it because, um, yeah, it's interesting
yeah,
thought. I like it. Yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely like all these things we'll have like a session to kind of brainstorm through
Right.
different things, but like really great feedback overall. um another thing that came up was like turning the dice change. I can't remember the exact suggestion, but it was like making the dice custom dice, and instead of having like 1 through 6, give them like symbols that represent the different things. So like when you roll for corruption, maybe there's like X's that like that's a fail, you miss, or like you roll for other, and like anytime you roll that single side with an X is a miss. But you could have other symbols, so like when you roll, you could be like, hey, it matched up 2 charge icons. That's a double, so it fills all your cores, but it also like maybe gives a charge to one of your items, or like
Hmm.
scrap icons on there. So like you roll the dice, and like if it's not a fail, you still fill a core, but then you also get some other potential thing. Like maybe you also get scrap. Um,
It's interesting. It seems like it's adding complexity
that's
for
kind of how I felt. Yeah,
not much of a benefit
yeah.
in
I
my
think
mind.
the dice would be cool, and people love custom dice. I love custom dice. Um,
Right. Yeah, I know you do.
but even though I love custom dice, I do think it would add too much. Like it would add other layers to all of this, and
Yeah.
so I don't know that I want to go down that road right now.
What was the sort of understanding of the game? The last time I play tested with my family, there was some confusion
Hmm.
around actions, and so we we toned that down based off your refresh, gather, and what is it? Create,
Collect,
collect,
craft,
craft,
gather, and refresh. Yeah,
refresh. And then did we lower the amount of action? You just picked two of the three,
you pick
right?
2 of those 3, and you
And
have
so
cubes that you place to claim your actions to
right, right,
track
right.
that.
So
Uh,
did it seem like that helped a lot? Did it seem like it helped a little bit? I'm
so
curious.
much.
Like, okay,
It helped so much. So
okay,
like when I tested on Tabletop Simulator last week with Ralph and Jesse,
yeah,
um, like we played that, and I told them what it was prior to that, and they were like, "Really? Like this just feels like a core part of the game." Like
hmm,
Jesse said something like, "He's like, like you sit down and play a game, and there's certain aspects of the game that you're just like, that
they
game,
feel familiar.
yeah."
Yeah.
Well, it's more, it feels familiar, but also like that game. He's like, when you think of that game, you think of those certain mechanics. He's like, this
Oh,
feels like
gotcha.
a staple to this game.
Sure.
Um,
Okay, interesting.
that and the permanent shade cores, like everyone loved
Oh,
those too, because
awesome.
it feels like you're building up your another
Yeah,
aspect of building up your forge because you're
right. Is
increasing the cores you
the
have.
amount of hit cores you have? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool.
So that helped out a lot, and then we didn't have the issue of just like spamming a millions of cores.
How
um
did everyone cap out their cores by the end of the game, or what was that like?
no, so the tabletop simulator one, I maxed out at 4, and Jesse had 4 and Ralph had 3. But we also had them cost 5 scrap for that one, and so I lowered it to 4 scrap for this last play
Okay,
test, and we had someone had 5, and the rest of us had 4 at one point. One guy
okay.
actually got that health. siphon thing where you like destroy a core to heal yourself, and he did
Okay.
it like twice to heal himself 4 times. He got 8 extra health by
Wow.
destroying 2 cores.
That's
Um,
interesting.
and I was like, dang, like I don't know that I would want to do that, but like he did it, and um, it yeah, he chose to do that. But like costing 4 scrap is like the equivalent of like an advanced blueprint, kind of.
Right. Right.
Um,
You
like
think
a,
that felt right?
I think it felt right.
Okay.
The one biggest issue with this and with the current game is, even though the pacing felt pretty good overall, I think the issue is partly with the pacing. Because before, when shade cores were 2 scrap each and you were just like constantly churning through them, you could craft a lot more items more quickly because it was a lower barrier to entry to get cores. And so you'd have a lot more cores, and then you could craft multiple items. No one in this game crafted more than 2 items at a time. Like I crafted 2 items like once or twice, and that was with, well, someone did too, but they had the final utility track upgrade, which everything costs 1 less core, and so which is pretty awesome. He was doing
Yeah,
that,
that
and
is
I'm like,
awesome.
he's like
Yeah.
crafting basic items for just the scrap value, and I'm like, at this point in the game, like I think that's fine, you
Big
know?
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Yeah.
Um. So that was cool. What was I getting at? But yeah. So the main issue, because the way cores work now, like you use them and then you have to use half of your actions, so one of two of your actions, on your next turn to refill your cores. So like, say I have 3 filled cores and I do an advanced one. Now I have 1 core left. I could try to craft a basic with that, or I have to go back to the siphon and refresh the others as well.
Right.
But it's more of a cost to do that refresh action than like previously when it was just one of your 3 where you could just like roll to fill.
Right.
So that slowed down the amount of crafting, because I realized in these games we crafted about the same number of items total that we've crafted in previous games.
Yeah.
Like Tabletop Simulator 1, I crafted like 4 basic, 3 advanced, and 2 mastercraft or something like that.
But they
And
had larger hands and also everything
and
gave you more XP, so it just moved the game faster, probably.
the game took slower. The game was way slower. So even though
Okay.
XP was increased, it started moving that track up, but it still took longer to craft things
Craft items.
because I didn't
Okay.
have the cores always handy. But like
Okay.
so like this last one that I just did was closer because we all crafted a few more like 1 or 2 more cores than we
You
had
dropped
done,
the cost of
because I
cores.
dropped the cost. And I don't think we can drop it more. I don't think 3
Yeah.
scrap is good. And maybe, I mean, maybe it could be. There was a turn where I had 8 scrap and I just crafted 2 empty cores. But then once I had 4, I never crafted them again, and I'm just constantly trying to like keep refilling those.
You can go up to 7.
Yeah, up to 7. So I'm wondering if we did drop it down to 3. We can test this at some point on Tabletop Simulator, so we don't have to make new components. But if we drop to 3 scrap per core, it's fairly cheap, which maybe is not good. But the issue, or the opposite end, whatever, the other thing, the negative to that is you still have to have them all filled, and so it still
Mhm.
takes a decent amount of
I
actions to
almost
get
wonder
them
if
filled.
the solution lies within the refresh action more than it does lying within the cost of the cores.
I've
Like, I
thought of,
wonder if we need to rethink
yeah,
what the refresh action could give you the potential of. Like, if you increase the chances of getting filled cores somehow, or if we, um,
yeah.
something within that vein almost.
I thought about that a little bit. I was like, what if we had added a third die, and so you like roll 3 dice, and everything that's not a 1 fills, but then like you have a way higher chance to get doubles potentially with 2 of them, and then is it still like doubles that you fill everything?
Get triples in order to.
That's like never gonna happen.
Mhm.
Um, we still got doubles like maybe 4 or 5 times in the whole game, 4 times maybe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
still was, and it's, everyone was like yes,
Right.
and
No,
like
that feels good. I love that aspect of the game, honestly. I don't wanna get
yeah.
rid of that if we don't have to.
Um, the with the refresh action, while we're kind of talking about that too, we talked about like the corruption stuff. Like we have to rethink that because it felt kind of pointless. It felt kind of lame to force the person into that action.
Right. If we're getting rid of corruption, which it sounds like we might at least try it,
We can
I
rethink it
think
another time.
we need to rethink of the refresh action because all it's gonna do outside of that, then is what was the third thing that you
We allowed people to
do?
discard for
Discarding cards
it was one scrap per
for
card.
scrap. Yeah.
But then
Um,
people felt like that also kind of sucked because then if they had advanced or mastercraft cards that are like, I'm not going to craft these, like,
well, and I also think that goes away anyway if we do the whole keep 2 cards, get rid of 1.
yeah, true.
Uh, so I don't think you'll have as many cards if we do
So,
that anyway.
so
So
we need just another.
we need something else in the refresh action because in my mind, as of right now, based on what we're saying,
It's just
all we
roll
have in there
the
is just
siphon.
Shade Core Siphon.
Yeah. What if?
So
Okay.
maybe we need to rethink what that looks like,
Yeah, we'll have to
or
talk through that.
like, I mean, I guess
We need a third action. We need a third like
yeah, we do
grouping.
need a third action. I was gonna say
Um,
we could get rid of it, but I like having to pick 2 of the 3. But I think we just I think we need to rethink what refresh does and maybe buff filling Shade Core somehow
yeah.
so that to at least try it out to fix your issue of the game
Hmm.
moving a little too slow for for building cards because it would feel cool every now and then with your forge. So I think our current state is that you can build up to 3
Hmm.
blueprints at once.
Yeah.
And you said that never happened,
No,
right?
not this
Yeah.
game.
So it would feel cool. I don't want it to happen all the time, but it'd feel cool if it could happen every
Right.
now and then.
Also,
So
with the buffed XP values on stuff, two of
uh-huh.
us hit the power surge at the end on this
Okay.
game. In Jesse's game, I think Jesse's in the one a tabletop simulator one. Jesse hit the power surge on his very last turn. It was just me and him left. Like Ralph just got killed. He hit power surge. I had 6 health, so it brought me down to 1, and then I
No way.
finished him off. So like that
No
was
way.
great. On this
Wow.
one, I don't know why, but 2 of us hit. Maybe we had more defense or more healing items in this game, um, or the fact that it was a four
That's always a
player
factor. I
versus a
mean, it's
three
never going to
player.
be the same sort of like
Yeah, true.
combat cards and everything out there. So it could go quicker, slower, simply because of that too.
Yeah, but like I hit power surge, another guy hit power surge, and then that second power surge killed me and the other guy, and then
Uh,
like another round and they were both dead, or the other guy was
gotcha.
dead. So like it still ends like almost immediately after,
Yeah.
um, and which
Which
is
is which is the reason we have it.
yeah,
Yeah.
um,
In the game.
so we'll have to keep playing and because we don't want that to happen. Like we said, we don't want that to happen all the time.
Right.
So we need to keep playing and just see if that is still the case. Um, okay, and then
It is a good way to ensure that the game doesn't last forever though.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Like if even if you're playing a slow game for whatever reason, if 2 people hit the power surge, that's 10
Yeah,
health
dude,
from everybody.
it was
So,
a lot.
yeah.
Um, okay, so final thing of like feedback from the game,
Yeah.
the skill trees. So also people like that. I tried to go straight defense this time because I haven't done that before, and one of the
Yeah.
other guys actually went full defense too. Oh,
Yeah.
so on that note too, I uh changed it so you can only get 5 total upgrade tokens on your forge, which I feel
Okay.
like is good because I don't think you should get the max bonus on 2 different skill trees.
Oh,
So you can fill one and get 2 of another, but I don't
yeah.
think so. Anyway, it was good. It ended up being good.
Yeah.
Um, there were a couple times people crafted a mastercraft item near the end, and they like got an upgrade token and a second one because it was like 4 XP plus 1 for defense or something. So they
Right.
like
Right.
passed
Right.
through 2 in one go, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
we can look at that too. But anyway, utility track has been used almost every game we've played. That bonus scrap on that first one is super nice. The reroll die actually came in a lot, especially when filling cores, because
Okay.
they would like either get a 1 or roll a second die to try to get doubles just because they had a free reroll. And then
Right.
that -1 core is ridiculous. Combat track happened a decent amount too, where it's like -1 scrap to cost to craft it.
+1
Um,
damage, and then
well,
steal,
so no, it's -1 scrap, a +1 steel, and then a +1 damage.
okay.
And so that one's pretty nice too.
Yeah.
But defense, they several of them brought this up that it doesn't feel like it's actually a defense skill tree because it's mainly focused around companions. So it's like it's +1 XP for crafting defense, and then it's you can equip a second companion, and then it's +2 armor to those companions. So they're like when you think of defense, you think of the armor or your health or things
Yeah.
related to that. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they're like that didn't really feel like a defense skill tree. And like
Interesting.
I did it, and I had 2 companions out, and it was cool. And then I got that +2 armor, and that was ridiculous. I had 2 basic companions out, but they stayed around for a long time
Because of the
until
armor.
someone got the board wipe card in Mastercraft.
Uh,
That was nuts, man. Um, really, and again, like, so overall, defense tree, we should look at that too. Maybe we can think about how to make it more defense
yeah,
focused.
yeah,
Maybe we don't do a second companion, but maybe we still add the armor to companion, and then think of something that affects like the health or armor on your forge itself. Because if you're going defense, like maybe it's some kind of buff that I don't know.
yeah.
We can think through that. But really good feedback again. Like everyone was like, "This is awesome." The guy that works for the game manufacturer, he was like you guys have a really good product on your hands. So that felt really good to hear. And everyone was like, "Yeah, like this is." Someone was like, "It's got good bones." um, so like definitely like we got something good. It's coming along. So need to look at core amount of cores, progression of filling cores, defense skill tree, and the refresh action are probably the 3 main things. But
Okay.
like what you brought up, the uh, streamlining of the game, spot on. Like the how we changed up actions and grouped actions, and added like trackers to track your 2 actions that you take, made it super clear and simple what you were doing.
Love it.
And we added a strict order to the game. So like you draw your scrap, you take your actions, and then you use your abilities on your blueprints. And like
Mm,
so it's like phase 1 is draw, phase 2 is do your actions, craft whatever. And then phase 3 is use active blueprints. Phase 4 resolve corruption, and then activate your new blueprints. So that seemed to work really well because it gave it a good structure. So it's pretty clear like what you're doing next. So there wasn't confusion there. And then the action simplification was great.
awesome.
So yeah, any
Wow.
any,
Awesome.
any other thoughts or questions about it? I know I just kind of talked this whole time, but
No, that's excellent. I love hearing that. Every feedback, everyone. It seems that our audience changes a lot every time we do a play test, but very
yeah,
similar sorts of feedback in the sense that it's really things that we could have potentially predicted based on the things that we changed. So
sure,
all that to say, it's nice that it's not, this play test, all of a sudden somebody brought up something that we've never thought about,
right,
and it's like something that's busted that isn't a fun mechanic.
yeah,
It's nice that we're it seems like we're heading in the right direction with all these
yeah,
things, and there's little things that we've been tweaking intentionally,
hmm
curious what the outcome would be, and a lot of people are either giving positive or negative feedback based on those things, which is really nice to
yeah,
so,
yeah, for sure. It's been good. Like the feedback has been very constructive. Um,
mm,
and yeah, like you said, kind of just along the, it's nothing's. Well, we had a couple random things broken before, but
right.
the changes we made, like the fact that we were able to think through and make those changes, and then it worked how we hoped it would, is great.
Yeah.
Also saw a lot of really cool like synergy with the cards in both these last 2 playtests, where like
Excellent.
yeah, someone would use a thing like an item, use a weapon, and then use this thing to recharge the weapon or something. Um, what did you type
No,
something?
I'm writing notes as things I want to talk about later. I don't want to forget.
Okay,
You carry on.
no,
Carry
it's
on.
okay. It's coming up on our side here, so I was just like, what's happening? Um,
Oh, can people see it?
yeah, it's fine. And not the whole thing, but
Oh, okay.
you can see into Trevor's brain right now. Um,
Yeah.
no, it's fine. You can post it there. We'll chat about it after. What was I gonna say? I don't know. Anyway, the feedback's been great, and like I've said this to people every time I've played. I'm like, I still enjoy playing it. Every time I play it, I'm like, this is fun. I'm like, I legitimately enjoy playing this, and like seeing cards come out that I'm like, oh my gosh, like the board wipe card just came out. Like I can't remember what it was called. Um, but like that was cool. One of the guys really liked our naming schemes of like the scrappling gun and scraptastrophe and like some of those. He's like these are great. And
Good. Good.
when the guy drew the board wipe card, he was like, dude, why did you make this a card? I'm like, I know a card that is. Um,
It's
I'll,
cool. Well, because here's the thing: if you have an excellent hand,
Yeah.
you're not going to play that card. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're only going to really play from behind, which
Dude,
is cool.
and it plays as a trap.
That's awesome. I forgot
I
about
changed
that.
it to we changed it to play as a trap, so that someone couldn't just like hit it with a pulse item and take it out before you
Right.
could use it.
Right.
And so it favored me so much because I was the
You were
one that attacked when it went off, and I had just put like actually that turn I had crafted 3 items. I forgot I did do it one time because I had some discounted things that made things cheaper to craft, and
uh
so I had crafted like and near the end of the game like 2 basics and a advanced in my queue, and then I attacked like with my companion, and the 3 of them had mastercraft traps out, all 3 of them, and I activated every single one by attacking. And so like
That's
the
awesome.
first one was like the scrappling gun, and so he just like that's the one where you can like fill it with scrap to do bonus damage, so it like activates like
uh
this turret thing, and that
Right.
hit me for like 5 damage. And then the next one was like the board wipe card, which I don't know why I can't remember the name of it. I'm gonna look at it real quick. It'll be easy to find. Um, energy burst. So that wiped everything. It all active blueprints, but mine that were in the queue have not activated yet. So I had 3 cards about to go in the field, and everything else got wiped off the field. And
Wow.
then the final guy, his was uh, like a companion that play as a trap, and then when he's activated, he attacks, and then he goes into the companion slot. Uh,
Mm,
Golem, Golem,
yeah. Yeah.
and so he like hit me back, but then since he was active, he got destroyed from the EMP as well. So that was
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
Right.
anyway, it was nuts. It was really cool. I still lost, but
Well, that's expected though. So I mean,
I know.
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So anyway, we'll find a time and brainstorm some of this stuff. But like I said,
Heck yeah.
really great
Got some
stuff.
good stuff to work through though. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure. We didn't do this at the beginning, but how you been? How you doing?
Good man. Good man. I real good. There's so I work. I've mentioned this a million times probably, but I work for an education company, and because the school year just started, stuff is crazy. All of our clients are schools, and so we have a bunch of new clients which are wanting to get onboarded with what we do, and a bunch of current clients which have turnover with their teachers and stuff like that. And so,
Hmm.
because we're a platform company, like a software company, we are just going through a ton of stuff with them, which is keeps me busy, but it's a lot of
Yeah,
fun. Um, it's been good. We're looking to have a good year.
nice.
And then just had some friends in town from Tennessee, where Mary's from, my wife, and it was good to see them and have them here for like 5 days. They were here for a long time.
Oh wow.
It was great, and but Mary and I are both introverts, so we're ready to just kind of have have time to ourselves for a while, which would be nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and then starting up some like new things. So like fantasy football
We told people
is.
about your channel the other day.
Oh, did you? Yeah,
Uh,
come check it out. It's fantasy football tips with Trevor.
if
It'll
you're
be
into that,
hard to
man.
find. We should link it at some point if you're willing to.
I meant to put it in
Just
the show notes that
check
time.
it out.
I when Ralph and I talked about it, I was like, I'll put it in the show notes, and then I never did.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you're into fantasy football, I'll make sure Steven puts something somewhere so you guys
yeah,
can
we'll
check
throw
it
it in
out if
there.
you want. I'd love for you to guys come check it out. But it's every Tuesday and Thursday I do an episode on YouTube. But outside of that, I'm part of 5 fantasy football leagues,
It's
and
nuts, man.
football season starts in like 2 weeks, and so I'm really excited. Mary and I, my wife and I, are huge both college and professional football fans. She's a Tennessee Titan, I'm a Denver Bronco, and then she likes Auburn Tigers, and I like Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, football season starting up. Excited about that, and it because we're all nerds here. If you're listening to this podcast, you are a nerd. Don't try
Yeah,
to hide it.
if you're in this,
There are 3 new video games that
mm,
came out that I just need to do a quick shout out.
okay.
If you haven't heard or played any of these, you at least gotta check it out. Baldur's Gate 3,
Yeah, I've heard it's ridiculous.
everyone is loving that game. I
Yeah,
don't own it, but I've watched people stream it. If you like Dungeons& and Dragons, this is right up your alley, and
yeah.
it is a blast. It's a lot of fun. Number 2, a game called Dark and Darker, actually just
It's out.
released, like an actual release. Yep. It's $30. So Baldur's Gate is like 60, I think. Dark and
Yeah,
Darker is 30. You can get it on the darkanddarker.com website. It's essentially like Escape from Tarkov, but
Yeah.
like fantasy version. So there's like wizards
I
and
never got
bards,
I never got around to playing the beta
the play test. Yeah.
or the
Um,
tests. Yeah.
but so I bought that one.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie, it is probably the most fun game I've played in 5 years. It is.
dude, that's
If
awesome.
you're into, you've got to love the genre because it's the sort of game where you get gear and you go into the game, and if you die, you lose all your gear and you start fresh. Like it's like Escape from Tarkov in that way,
Yeah.
where you lose everything. It's very unforgiving, but I love it. It's a lot of fun. And then the third game that is out, that is not new, but if you know me, if you've been listening to this podcast, I'm a huge World of Warcraft fan.
What's
They
that?
just came out. They just came out with official hardcore servers,
Oh dang.
which means that if you Steven and I did a duo comp for a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. We played a few times together. But if you die in this server, you cannot come back to life. So they're doing it on classic WoW.
Dude, that's
So
hardcore.
everybody's it's every time WoW comes out with like a new expansion, it's huge for a while. That's what it's like right now with these hardcore servers. There's
That's
people
awesome.
everywhere. Everyone's dying and they can't come back to life. So it's a lot of fun. So I've been dabbling in that a little bit too. But anyway,
And
before I finish that up,
Starfield comes out next
I
week.
actually meant to mention that. I don't want to say anything about it yet because
I
we've
know.
already talked about it on
I
the
know.
podcast, and I'm kind of anxiously
Yeah. I'm
skeptical,
cautiously
cautiously
optimistic.
skeptimistic.
Skeptimistic. I'm negatively hopeful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um, we'll see what happens with that. That could be fun. I'll definitely watch streams on that either way. If it ends up being a huge game, I may take a look at it.
I've
But
got Game Pass and it's coming to Game Pass.
that's
So
right. That's right. If you have Game Pass, you can check it out for free.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be good because I don't have to be like drop $70 to try it and be like, oh, it sucks. But
Right.
I can try it and it's just there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually been playing last thing and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't mention this last time. So I found this website called retroachievements.com and it connects to emulators for retro games
Oh, cool.
and it has a library of achievements that you can earn on like old school games.
Games.
And so there the legality of downloading ROMs
Yeah.
is, I was gonna say
It's up in the air.
it's up for debate, but it's really not. But like from what I've gathered, if you own the physical game and you have a ROM of that game, I think maybe you're fine. I think it's kind of what I've heard.
I would assume so.
Because
I
like I
mean,
own
come
the
on, you own
game,
the game,
right? So I own the physical game. So
right?
I have been playing through on N64, Majora's Mask, Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask,
Wow.
which was like the sequel to Ocarina of Time, kind of sequel. Second game kind of set with the same timeline-ish thing,
Yeah.
which I had never actually beaten before. And
Interesting.
even
So
though
now you get a chance to do that,
it's been awesome. So I've been
and you
going,
get the achievement
and I
thing
get
with it.
achievements. So I've been going through this old
I know
game.
you're a big achievement
It's
guy.
been great. I've been hunting all the masks, like collecting all. There's like so many freaking masks you can get in this game that all
Huh.
like do like random little things. But it's been so fun going through that, and
Awesome.
I'm really enjoying it. So
You know what game came to mind recently that I don't know if our audience will even know. Depends on how old you are, I guess. Red Alert. Do you remember that game? It's
maybe
like it was almost like Age of Empires for like World War II,
okay.
where it's like
No, I don't think I know that one.
it's not quite the same where you're like building bases and stuff. I remember the campaign being a ton of fun, but you would have like tanks or soldiers or I need to look it up. It's I honestly haven't even seen it since I was a little kid, but it looks like they've been doing a lot of
Hmm.
like game showcases over the summer, right? They do all
Okay.
their stuff, and there's a game that looked like Red Alert. It looked like a reboot of Red Alert. It wasn't called Red Alert, but I was like, that's Red Alert. Um,
Interesting.
so I gotta figure out what that game is. But anyway,
Yeah.
talking about old school games.
Sure. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this podcast. Thanks again for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, keep listening to it to find out what we're up to. As well as go to our website, wafflegames.com to find out. Jeez. I'm good. We're
To find
good.
what? What are we finding? Are you
You'll
okay?
never,
Are you
you'll
all right?
never know. To find a link to our Discord as well as sign up for our monthly newsletter, which will be coming out in a few days after I write it. Yeah, and I'll update stuff about these playtests and everything. You can also find links to our socials there, which is at Waffle Games, which you'll find mainly on Instagram. Been a little more active on the Facebooks, trying to network and get connect with other game designers and game groups and all that too, to build up this Waffle Games community so that we can make a game. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you all next time.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye.